Madam President, I have been listening to Senator Crapo's remarks, and I think he has made some excellent points. The senator is pointing out the long-term consequences of this incredible spending proposal that has been put before us, on top of two incredible spending proposals that we have passed, $1 trillion each, in the last month in this Congress. So I do hope that the people of America start looking at the long-term effects of this spending increase at a time when our economy is very, very seriously in jeopardy. And I hope that we can stop it at the budget and start showing the American people that we know that everyone is concerned about their own futures, everyone is concerned about their jobs, their retirement, and we need to act accordingly in Congress, and that is spend our taxpayer dollars wisely and not continue to borrow as we have been just in the last 2 months. It is going to be a spiral that I don't know how we overcome. So we've got to start overcoming it right now, and that's with the budget proposal that has been put before us. Madam President, I rise today and I want to speak about Ron Kirk, who is the nominee for whom we will vote in the next few minutes for U.S. Trade Representative. And I want to ask that my statement be made a part of the record where the other statements are for and maybe against, but all of the statements on Ron Kirk, my statement would be placed in the same position in the congressional record with those. Thank you, Madam President. I rise today to speak in strong support of Ron Kirk to serve as U.S. Trade Representative. I want to say that I would have been over here earlier and spoken with the others, but as ranking member of the Committee on Commerce, I was holding the hearing with the chairman, Jay Rockefeller, on Governor Locke to be Secretary of Commerce. And that was my responsibility that I certainly had to meet. And I will say that Governor Locke did a very good job before our Commerce Committee, and we just, within the last hour, concluded that hearing. So I did want to make sure that I am able to speak about Ron Kirk, because certainly I know him. I have known him for many years. We both live in Dallas, and I have really enjoyed a great relationship. I was in the Senate when Ron Kirk was the mayor of Dallas, and he did a wonderful job as mayor of our city, and I worked with him as a senator, and I know that he can get things done. He's very bright, very affable, really funny. He's the kind of person that you want to sit next to in a very dull speech, because he can make you laugh no matter how bad the summit or the speech or whatever the business of the day is. He is a very rare, wonderful person. During his time in office, Mayor Kirk expanded Dallas's reach to the world through a range of trade missions and trying to show that Dallas was open for business, and he traveled on trade missions to assure that that would happen. While he was mayor, he sponsored a competition every year for small businesses to highlight those competing in foreign markets, and invited the winner to go on his trade mission trips. I think it is important, as a former small business owner myself, that we show how you can trade, you can export to foreign countries, no matter how small your business is, if you just know how to pursue it. And Mayor Kirk tried to assure that small businesses in Dallas, as well as our big businesses, were able to have a place at the table when he was on trade missions, showing what could be done with trade with Texas and with Dallas. Before becoming mayor of Dallas, Ron Kirk was Secretary of State of Texas. He was an appointee of Governor Ann Richards. He attended Austin College, graduating with a degree in political science and sociology in 1976, and then went to the University of Texas Law School, which is also my alma mater. Upon receiving his JD in 1979, he practiced law until 1981, when he went to work in the office of then Texas Senator Lloyd Bentsen, who was my immediate predecessor in this Senate seat. On a personal note, Ron is married to Matrice Ellis Kirk. She, in her own right, is a professional woman, a leader in Dallas, another very bright, affable person who has made her own impression in Dallas as well. They have two daughters, Elizabeth Alexandria and Catherine Victoria. I know that Mayor Kirk's leadership and experience will make him a strong ambassador for U.S. trade policy. Last week, in his testimony before the Senate Finance Committee, Mayor Kirk pledged that as U.S. Trade Representative, he said, "I will work to increase opportunities for American entrepreneurs in the global marketplace. These economic opportunities are critical to America's prosperity." In 2007, exports accounted for 40% of our economic growth. The next U.S. Trade Representative will face a series of challenges, including revitalizing the stalled WTO talks and managing the Doha round, which is preoccupied with topics like export subsidies, tariffs, copyright issues, and keeping markets open to U.S. goods. Equally important, the next U.S. Trade Representative will face the worst economic downturn in decades in America and in the world. As we face economic hardships, trade presents a tremendous opportunity to sustain and create jobs, expand economies, and stimulate growth. We must resist the temptation to close our borders and engage in protectionism, which always ends up harming our economy. History is not kind to those who raise trade barriers during a recession. In 1930, President Hoover made the mistake of signing the Smoot-Hawley tariff, which dramatically increased the cost of imports and turned a serious recession into the Great Depression. We can't allow that to happen again. My heavens, if we know anything, it is that we should learn from history. Past is prologue. I believe that trade policy can play a leading role in getting the U.S. economy back on track. Currently, the United States has free trade agreements in effect with 14 countries: Canada, Mexico, Israel, Jordan, Chile, Singapore, Australia, Morocco, the Dominican Republic, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Bahrain. However, we still have free trade agreements with Colombia, Panama, and South Korea that await congressional approval. The next U.S. Trade Representative must work with Congress to implement those trade agreements and to ensure that American exports enter the global market on a level playing field. I am pleased that in his testimony before the Senate Finance Committee, Mayor Kirk committed to work with Congress to develop benchmarks that will allow these accords to move forward. The Colombia Free Trade Agreement in particular will be tremendously beneficial to the United States, both economically and diplomatically. This accord would remove tariffs on the $8.6 billion of U.S. agricultural exports to Colombia every year. While America's economic growth is a primary objective of free trade agreements, they also serve the broader purpose of bolstering our foreign policy. At a time when Venezuelan dictator Hugo Chavez is trying to undermine U.S. security interests in Latin America, we must seek trade partnerships with allies like Colombia. As the Washington Post said in an editorial, a vote for the Colombia deal would show Latin America that a staunch U.S. ally will be rewarded for improving its human rights record and resisting the anti-American populism of Venezuela's Hugo Chavez. By helping Colombia and other countries thrive under the free market, we will help them become less vulnerable to Chavez's petrodollars. I'm very hopeful that Mayor Kirk will take the necessary steps to ensure that the Colombia Free Trade Agreement is approved. Let me say that I think probably the first issue that the U.S. Trade Representative will have to focus on and solve is with Mexico. We know that this week, Mexico threw up tariffs on 90 products that are imported by Mexico from the United States. Most of these are agricultural products, and it will hurt our agriculture businesses if we have a trade war with Mexico, if we have tariffs that increase the price of American goods into Mexico. We all know this must be solved, and I will say that the person who understands it best is Ron Kirk. Ron Kirk obviously lives in Texas. He knows how important free trade is with Mexico. Mexico is Texas' largest trading partner. We export to Mexico, and it's an important business in Texas, and he knows that firsthand because he's been there. So he will understand that this is a high priority for all of our exporting states into Mexico, and that we must solve the trucking issue so that Mexico understands that there will be parity across the border, that Mexican trucks, like American trucks, will have the same safety standards, that they will have an ability to be inspected. And he can solve this if we will confirm him today and let him start on this very important problem. Throughout his career, Mayor Kirk has shown the character and leadership skills to bring people together on behalf of a good cause. For that reason, I am very confident that he will make a great U.S. trade representative. He will seek exports of American goods all over the world. He will seek free and fair trade. That is very important. We don't want other countries to throw up barriers to our entry into their country, and he will do the right thing. I know he's a good negotiator. I know he will be a good representative of the United States in this very important position. So I urge my colleagues to support his nomination. I'm pleased that we're voting on him right now so that he can hit the ground running on the Doha round and the many issues that are facing our country in this time of economic stress, when the last thing we should be doing is throwing up barriers to trade and exports from our country into other countries where good trade makes good neighbors and good partners. Thank you, Madam President, and I yield the floor.